Tales from Tipperary, written by Edward Forde Hickey, narrated by Tony Robinson. Dandy. 1. Dandy, the subject of this first little tale, was in the enviable position of being a town schoolmaster on the far side of the Shannon. His future would seem to be secure and his fame and fortune made. It should have been the start and end of a pretty little story. However, that's not always the way our world behaves, and fate can trip a man up on days when he's least expecting it. In this particular case, it was the long-established custom to see a former scholar make his way back to town and throw down a challenge to his previous tutor as to who was best suited to be running the school. Was it the established master, or was it the young fellow himself? A batch of school records were hastily brought down from the attic and carefully scrutinized. The priest and managers were called into the schoolyard for this unexpected challenge to be written down and for Dandy to step forth and register an account of himself, and the youth to stake his own claim. Think of the many prayers that the poor master now started saying to the Blessed Virgin, and to any other saint he could think of. The contest between himself and young Foxylocks started off slowly enough, but by late afternoon it had built up a fine head of steam. For the morning session the subjects varied from bog Latin to Euclid. After a hearty dinner the two scholarly combatants were able to continue their tussle, this time reciting lengthy stanzas from the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and the Lady of Shalott, as well as some sophisticated understanding of the ancient Egyptians. You'd have to be there to believe it, for it was a most exhausting day's work for even the most athletic of intellects. One would feel sorry for Dandy, his mind being a bit rusty these days, as he tried to hold back the onslaught of young Foxylocks, who had brought with him a bag of long-winded facts and figures that he proceeded to hammer out at the front table. You should have seen the mesmerized townie onlookers, mainly the gossipy women. Aren't these two windbags the very wonder of God? As they stood agog outside the school railings, and saw the hysterical antics of them, for it was many a day since they'd had so much fun and amusement. By evening, the wearying arguments began to wane, and the judgment was at length written down in favour of the proud young challenger, with Dandy somewhat short of the mark. Oh, the shame of it! A man of his respected standing, opposite all the bigwigs of the town. There was another consideration, wouldn't you know it? The diocesan archbishop was uncle to Foxylocks, and therefore had more than a fair share of influence over his challenge, a fact that was quickly pointed out by the local cynics, as they watched the two sporting combatants end up spitting on their fists and shaking hands like a pair of gentlemen. Foxylocks went off next morning for a bit of a rest with a minister of a small church in a nearby village, another nephew of the aforementioned archbishop. A week later he returned to town amid rapturous applause. He was scarcely recognizable, wearing a suit of black clothing, a white cravat, and a pair of buckled shoes that would match his image as the new town schoolmaster. The old turncoats drank his health from dusk till dawn, and, as you'd expect, not one of them, the gossiping women included, spared a thought for Dandy. It was the saddest day of his life. The priest, however, was a man to be trusted, unlike the archbishop, for he gave Dandy an excellent written testament as to his noble character and his studious industry with pen and ink. After that, he sent him away, without any other form of ceremony or reward. His tail between his legs, his eyes full of salty tears, and his heart as heavy as an old
Sample complete. Ready to continue?